This is CBN News Watch.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Ephraim Graham. We want to begin this half hour with the manhunt continuing for the suspect in the Lewiston, Maine mass shootings. Police say 40-year-old Robert Card fatally shot 18 people and wounded more than a dozen Wednesday night. Our Mark Martin is on our top story.
The search for the suspected gunman Robert Card is expanding. Hundreds of police and FBI agents continue their multi-state manhunt for the U.S. Army reservist whom authorities say committed the worst mass killing in the state's history. As authorities keep up their search, victims are sharing their stories of survival.
I was one of the lucky ones. If the bullet had been in either direction, I definitely would not have survived.
We got a table to flip over, and we had a booth in that corner that we used to put a wall up. But there really isn't much protection.
Tony Asselin and her mom were at the bowling alley where one of the shootings took place.
I ran out the exit. I didn't know where my mom was.
Tony escaped, but her mom had to hide.
Any minute I was waiting to see his face come around that corner, and that was the most daunting part.
At the second shooting scene, a bar and grill, manager Joseph Walker was shot to death while trying to stop the suspect.
My son had grabbed some type of a butcher knife or something and went towards the killer to try to stop him from killing anyone else, and that's when he shot my son.
As survivors try to move forward, investigators work to track down Card. Thursday night, they surrounded a home belonging to him in the town of Bowdoin, Maine, trying to pursue all leads. After the shootings, Card's car was found at a boat launch several miles from the crime scenes with a firearm inside. Authorities tell ABC News Card also owned a boat, so now the Coast Guard has joined the manhunt. Card reportedly received treatment at a mental health facility over the summer after allegedly saying he was hearing voices and reportedly threatening to shoot a National Guard base. Mark Martin, CBN News.
I want to turn overseas now. U.S. fighter jets launched airstrikes early today against two locations in eastern Syria, and Israel is keeping up its military actions against Hamas in Gaza ahead of its planned ground invasion. Chris Mitchell brings us the story now from Jerusalem.
The Pentagon announcing U.S. planes launched strikes against Iranian-backed militias after repeated attacks on U.S. bases in Syria and Iraq by drones and rockets.
Again, it is our aim to avoid any regional expansion of Israel's conflict with Hamas, but we stand ready and prepared to protect and defend our partners and our interests, and will act to do so. Finally, in terms of force protection, the message is simple. As Secretary Austin has consistently made clear, we will take all necessary measures to defend our troops and our interests overseas.
The U.S. attack coming as Israeli troops, tanks, and armor conducted a raid into the central Gaza Strip for the second night in a row. The IDF says it struck a number of command and control centers and Hamas terrorists. The IDF also kept up its air campaign and says it has killed a number of Hamas leaders responsible for the October 7th massacre of Jews. Israel is continuing to ask residents of northern Gaza to flee the area and release this phone conversation with the resident of Gaza, who says Hamas is stopping people from getting out of harm's way.
أنا عشان أملك وسلامتك بدي تنزل ضروري لتجاه يونس. مسكوا كل الطرق طيب. أما كيف ما سكروا الطريق؟ فهمني. يعني كيف بتلاقي ناس هم يطلقوا النار على الناس اللي بدهم ينزلوا؟ أيوة.
Iran's foreign minister called on Israel to stop its air attacks on Gaza and warned the war might expand to other parts of the Middle East.
I have realized that according to the scenarios set by Hezbollah, any step the resistance will take will result in a huge earthquake against the Zionist entity.
He also warned at the UN that they will strike the U.S. if Israel persists in its bombing of the Gaza Strip. Amid the fighting, former U.S. envoy Jason Greenblatt strongly criticized President Joe Biden's call for a two-state solution, allowing for a Palestinian state in the Middle East just 3 weeks after the killing of 1,400 Israelis, tweeting, "There's no going back to the status quo."
What a beautiful name it is.
In the U.S., Christians showing their support for Israel. Liberty University held a prayer vigil.
Because we ask that you break our heart for what breaks yours, Lord.
And on Thursday, a roundtable of Christian leaders in America also spoke out on behalf of the Jewish state.
The American Christian Leaders for Israel is a network of Christian leaders who collaborate in support of Israel and the Jewish people. And in just 5 days, we were able to garner the signatures of over 115 Christian leaders from over 100 organizations to sign on 3 letters. The well-being of Israel and the Jewish people worldwide is important to us. And so we wanted to add the strength of our voice to that of the people of Israel and the various Jewish organizations working on these issues.
We continue to pray for all of those, including the Palestinians who have been placed in harm's way by Hamas, not by Israel. And NRB stands in complete and full support of Israel. And we bless all the people of Israel, and we will continue to pray for them.
And Chris Mitchell joins us now from Jerusalem. Chris, the Pentagon used U.S. planes to attack Iranian-backed militia, and that also includes drones and rockets in Syria. But there's also word of an Iranian-backed drone hit in another area?
Yeah, that's right, Ephraim. It hit a place called Taba, which is an Egyptian city on the Red Sea. It's right across the border from the Israeli resort town of Eilat. Some believe it might have come from an Iranian warship in the Red Sea or from the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen. Either way, it's another front opening here in the region. And the U.S. attacks that we talked about in our report in Syria and Iraq, they're very significant. And it could possibly mean the U.S. is going to get more and more involved in the conflict. They're already involved, but by attacking these U.S. bases and then the U.S. responding to these Iranian militias sort of raises the conflict to another level.
This is the second night the IDF conducted a raid into the Gaza Strip. What did they do?
Well, Ephraim, what they're doing is preparing for the ground invasion. We don't know when that's going to come. Many people expected it several days ago, maybe a week ago. But what our military correspondent Chuck Holton has been explaining to us is he said it's sort of what they call shaping the battlefield. What this means is that they're clearing out any obstacles like IEDs. They're doing reconnaissance. They're finding out more of what the battlefield is going to look like. So when they do actually go in, they'll have more information, more intelligence, and clearing out some of those obstacles and military bases, possibly ambushes that they would expect anytime they actually go in on the ground.
Chris, as you shared in your story, leaders in America have been praying on behalf of the Jewish state. What are you hearing about prayer groups in Israel?
Well, the other night I went to something called the Global Day of Prayer for the hostages and the missing. It was right there next to the Western Wall. And I'll precede that by saying earlier in the day I saw the horrifying images and the slaughter of the boys, the young women in the prime of their life, the older women on the streets, whole families being killed, and then actually videos of these Hamas terrorists stalking their people like prey. One image was particularly striking, you know, boys in a Saturday morning in their underwear. Their father had been killed by a grenade, and then in the same room are these men in combat gear just cavalierly taking drinks out of the refrigerator. Just a profound sadness of those who were killed. They died too early, lives without birthdays, anniversaries, or graduations, and we want to honor their memory. Next, later in the day, there was a moving event. As I said, this was the Global Day of Prayer for the hostages and the missing. And we heard from the families of those holding out hope. We talked to one rabbi who mentioned the Talmud, and he says the Jewish teachings, it said, you know, having a hostage for a loved one is really almost the worst kind of anguish. There's really no closure. And so the prayer event here was to go ahead and say, we've done everything we can diplomatically in the negotiations, but right now we need to look up to God, to the Almighty.
It's been a busy week indeed. What can we expect on this evening's edition of Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, we're going to have an update of what's happening here in the region. Ephraim, we have an interview with Itamar Marcus. He's with the Palestinian Media Watch. He talks about, you know, the support of Hamas actually in the West Bank. We're going to have a roundtable with Julie Stahl and John Wagi We're going to have a story about Christians and Jews working together to help those displaced by the war, now up to 250,000. And finally, we're going to have a story about, CBN Israel and the Jewish Agency working together to help feed some of those displaced.
All right, Chris Mitchell.
And you can follow Ephraim, our daily updates on YouTube and Facebook.
Absolutely. We look forward to those reports. Thank you so much. Our CBN News Middle East Bureau Chief, Chris Mitchell, reporting for us from Jerusalem. Our prayers continue, and we encourage you to stay safe. There you can see, you can watch Jerusalem Dateline tonight at 8:30 Eastern. You can find it on the CBN News Channel. You can also find it on the CBN News app, or you can watch it on YouTube as well. Coming up, we're going to talk to some IDF troops as they await going into the Gaza Strip. Stay with us. You're watching CBN News Watch. Israeli troops are gathered in southern Israel waiting for the green light to go into Gaza. CBN's Chuck Holton is on the ground near the border, where he spoke with IDF soldiers about their mission to destroy Hamas.
Israel has been battling Hamas. Now Israel's military leaders say the time is approaching for a ground invasion to achieve its objectives.
Our job is to dismantle you, and that will happen. Any who associate with you, whether they're Houthi rebels, whether they're in Iraq, whether they're in Iran, your boss is in Iran, all who oppose the God of Israel and decency and human life will be dismantled. And that goes across. So this is a line being drawn in the sand, and beware, because your judgment day has come.
And everyone in Israel is doing what they can to help. Marco Moreno is bringing supplies to frontline troops.
It's not a burden, it's a right for us as Israelis to serve those guys. It takes time. You've been in the military, you know. It takes time to get everything from the storage, supplied. In the end, those are our kids, those are our nephews, those are our neighbors, those are the generation, the future of this country.
Despite the constant aerial barrage, Hamas still manages to fire off dozens of rockets from Gaza each day.
There's a large barrage of rockets coming from Gaza right now. Those puffs of smoke right there behind me are evidence of the Iron Dome system taking down many of those rockets that are headed for populated areas in Ashkelon and further on.
But Iron Dome can't root out Hamas terrorists in Gaza. These soldiers know what they're up against.
Why aren't we done yet? Well, I'd say if they understood the complexity of underground warfare. There's bombs that are underwater. There's things people can't even think of. There's supplies from North Korea, the F-7 rocket launchers from Pyongyang. There's stuff that people haven't begun to understand.
Israel continues to urge civilians in Gaza to evacuate to the south, even as the IDF continues to pound Hamas positions. Israel insists its goals are to dismantle Hamas and rescue over 200 hostages, despite worldwide protests against the campaign.
And we're not going to stop until we will destroy Hamas. Hamas is a terror organization worse than ISIS. The Palestinian people doesn't have nothing to do with it. It's not their blame. It's the Hamas. We're going to destroy Hamas. We're going to kill them all, and then we're going to talk about ceasefire.
Israel contends that eliminating the Hamas threat will ultimately help the Palestinian people, although the complicated operation is likely to take months or even years.
I hear people talking about proportionality and saying, well, how many exactly did they kill? Should we act exactly like them and go and invade a peace festival? Well, there aren't any peace festivals. And go in and kill innocent lives and murder and take hostages? No. What we have to do is focus on the actual true thought, which is fulfill your mission, restore security, dismantle the threat.
Chuck Holton, CBN News, Ashkelon.
Welcome back to CBN News Watch. One quick-thinking IDF soldier made the ultimate sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl sat down with the parents of the fallen hero during their week of mourning.
My son was in the Golani Brigade. He was stationed at the Erez crossing on Saturday. It was the 7th of October, 6:30 in the morning, when the Hamas decided to come with all their forces into Israel and start fighting with us. Roy was in his base at the crossing. There were only like 20 soldiers in the base with him. He realized that there were many more Hamas combatants than soldiers in the base, and they were slowly picking them off. And my son went to the officer and he says, I have an idea. It's a little bit out there, but we need to go around. You and I, we should take 3 other soldiers. So it was the officer, my son was a sergeant, my son's radio man, and 2 other soldiers. They went out under fire around the building. They flanked the building. They went all the way around. They dropped on one of the roofs. They went up to one of the roofs and they dropped on one of the roofs. And together with the other team, they shot and were able to kill and hold off the Hamas combatants till either they shot them all, killed them all, or had them all run away, the rest of them run away. And because of that, because of his ideas, his heroic thought at that moment, and what he did, he was able to hold off the Hamas. He was able to hold down, they held down the base, okay, for 2 hours until reinforcements came to help them out. And 12 soldiers are alive to tell us the story today. And we're regretfully in the crossfire. Our son had died.
Yami and Naomi Weiser had ripped their clothes, as is the Jewish custom to symbolize their pain during the week of mourning.
This is the picture that he sent us, the last picture that he sent. Oh, and it says Shabbat Shalom from Gaza. It's a beautiful picture of a
sunset. It's beautiful.
And he was just sharing with us.
There was nothing there. Look at it, it's beautiful. You're watching the sun go down into the sea. It's a wonderful picture. Next day, that was overrun.
Our son was a hero, and we have a 24-year-old daughter, and then Rowie, who was 21.
He's our oldest son.
He's our oldest son.
We have 2 sons. Yeah. He's our oldest son.
And we have another 17-year-old son. He was just your basic kid. He liked sports. He liked soccer. He liked baseball. He liked basketball. He was just your basic 21-year-old kid. Everyone here has been so loving to us. Israel is a big country, yet a small country.
Everybody knows everybody already.
Everybody, right. We were told when, about Rowie's funeral, people apologized they couldn't come because we have 2 other funerals to go to. And everybody has a brother, a relative, a son. Yeah. We're all one big...
Very sad family.
Yeah.
When they heard the news, Rowie's friends gathered to sing a tribute of the national anthem. CBN News saw the outpouring of pictures and messages attached to the wall outside the Weisers' home.
Our son sacrificed his life. Something should come of it. This should end all wars. We should learn our lesson from this. I want to see peace. I want to know that he didn't die in vain. I want to see this evil organization that can come and murder children be demolished. I want the message across the world that anybody that supports them should stop supporting them. And we didn't start this war. Israel is now protecting itself against them, and Israel should get the support of America and all over the world to help eradicate them. Because otherwise this is going to happen again, if not to us, to another country. Another way we'd like to remember our son is through his
generosity.
Generosity, I think, is the word, and thinking of others, and always with a smile. It's what they always told us. Always made us laugh, always with a smile.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Efrat, Judea and Samaria.
Coming up on the red carpet at the Dove Awards with Christian hit makers and a special message for Israel from one of the artists when we come back. Let's head now to the 54th Annual Dove Awards that honored some of the biggest artists in Christian music. We hit the red carpet to talk with a few of these artists, including one of the most nominated singers this year, Katie Nicole, who walked away with New Artist of the Year honors.
It doesn't take a trophy for me to see what God has done through the music, and I'm just grateful that I have gotten to see that impact. And God has done incredible things in my life. I don't need an award to show me how amazing our God is. Just that he would allow me to have a platform to spread his holy name is really what it means to me. I'm just going to continue to be obedient to him and continue to serve him as best as I can, because this isn't about me. And granted, God has just blessed me over and over and over again, but truly the reward is knowing him.
Well, the night also featured performances from big-name artists like Lauren Daigle, who performed her new single, Be Okay, and gave a heartfelt message of hope for Israel.
It is time to stand firm in our faith. It's not time to shrink back. Now is a time for us to put our differences aside and decide how we can make the body of Christ that much stronger. In light of what has happened in Israel this week, I think our eyes need to be open to what he might be calling us to. We have the hope of eternity and the good news of the gospel.
The Dove Awards theme this year is Joyful Echo, and a reminder throughout the message of gospel Christian music can be the sound that brings joy, love, and hope to the world. Well, there is an all-new episode of Conversations from Studio 5. It is the podcast with uplifting interviews in the world of lifestyle and entertainment, connecting popular culture and faith. And this week, I'm sitting down and speaking with Grammy Award-winning singer and songwriter Tiffany Hudson. She talked about her new solo album called Hidden Here and shared a little bit about her life as well. Here's a preview.
The kindness of the Lord, just began to break my heart for his presence. And it became all about his presence. I was completely changed, in those moments, and being at the altar of my parents' church, experiencing his presence for the first time. And I remember being on my knees and saying to the Lord, however I can create or steward these atmospheres, that changed my life.
Now you can catch the full Tiffany Hudson interview and other podcasts from Conversations from Studio 5 on Apple, Google Podcast, and Spotify. Time now for your Friday Faithful. I want to leave you with this message as we wrap another week together. God made man and declared he is good. Remember that. You were good at creation and you are good today. All in the eyes of your Creator, and his eyes are all that truly matter. With that word, I encourage you to make this a fabulous Friday and do yourself a favor. Have a wonderful weekend as well, on purpose and with purpose. Well, that will do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can always find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel at any time, as well as online. That address is cbnnews.com. Let us know what you think about the stories you've seen here today or any day. You can email us. The address is newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right back here, same time Monday. Goodbye and God bless.